Good afternoon, everyone. I'm joined by Minister Dix here on the traditional territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people, the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nation. We've just completed our weekly cabinet meeting, and I wanted to update British Columbians on some of the initiatives that we were discussing today. Firstly, of course, the state of emergency has been extended for an additional 2 weeks. As we turn the dial up and increase our social and economic activity, it's important to make sure that we don't lose sight of the objectives that we as a province collectively embarked upon some 2 months ago. In fact, it was 10 weeks ago that we announced the first public state of emergency, and adding 2 additional weeks makes this the longest period in BC's history where emergency orders have been in place. People will remember back to 2017, the horrific fire season that year led to 10 weeks of emergency status in the province, and we are now exceeding that with, I have to say, no likely end in sight. We've been making progress. Minister Dix and Dr. Henry advise us daily of that progress, and I'm excited about the future, but we also have to recognize that we don't want to give up the ground that we have made collectively and as individuals. I also want to announce that although MLAs, members of the legislature, have been working throughout BC in every corner of the province, there is an expectation that members of the legislature will be here in Victoria, in this building, conducting the democracy that we are so fond of and is so foundational to who we are. So the 3 parties have been working with the legislative clerk, and we have found an agreement where safe resumption of the legislature can take place. Effective June 22nd, MLAs will be returning to Victoria so we can conduct the business of the province. Some will be here in person, some will be beaming in with technology, but at the end of the day, debate will take place, votes will be cast, and democracy will be well served. I think that as we look at other jurisdictions who have continued with their legislative processes, we have seen similar attempts to try and find a way to mix in-person activity with technology and ensuring that physical distancing can take place. And those members of the legislature who are vulnerable, maybe with illnesses that do not put them in a position where they want to mix with other members of the community, I think we can find accommodations. In fact, we have found accommodations, and I'm excited to get back to work. But before that happens, I want to acknowledge and thank members of the legislature from all political parties for the focus that we have all had on ensuring that British Columbians were at the front of our agenda. Partisanship has left the building, and it may well be returning in June, but I do want to say today that I'm grateful to the work of the BC Liberal Party, the BC Green Party, and my colleagues in the NDP for taking this challenge on, not as partisans, but as people, focusing on the needs of British Columbians, and it's been a success for all of us, and although I'd like to continue it on as long as possible, I'll understand if a partisan rock or 2 are thrown in the weeks ahead. Today, we're also going to announce Minister Dix and I were prepared to make this announcement, I think it was the week of the pandemic arriving in British Columbia. We were going to talk about the need for providing more health services in communities across BC, and in particularly, we were going to talk about the need for more healthcare professionals and what we have characterized as the expansion of the primary care network in British Columbia. Minister Dix has been working on this since he was sworn in as minister. There's a challenge in every part of BC finding a family doctor. As communities start to grow, finding family physicians have been difficult. So we have brought in an innovation to the system here called urgent primary care centers that are supported by urgent primary care networks. And for too many people, the struggle to find a family doctor has now been relieved because of these community endeavors. And today, we're proud to announce that although it would have been opening soon if we'd announced it at the start, opened yesterday a new urgent primary care center, the second one in the city of Surrey, the 17th in British Columbia. The Surrey operation that we opened in November of 2018 has already seen over 29,000 patients. And that's extraordinary. Those are 29,000 patients that did not clog the emergency room at Surrey Memorial Hospital. And we're going to continue, of course, with our plans to develop a second hospital in Surrey, centered in Cloverdale, which will put all of the healthcare needs, acute care, urgent primary care, as well as expanding and developing culturally sensitive and appropriate care for seniors in that great community of Surrey. And then we're going to be building this across the province as well. 90,000 people in Surrey don't have a family doctor. The urgent primary care centre we're announcing today will alleviate a great deal of the pressure on those families. I want to thank Minister Dix for his focus on this issue. Despite the extraordinary challenges that we've had on the public health side, we are also remaining vigilant and focusing on the delivery of regular services for the people of British Columbia. The Fraser Health Authority as well has done extraordinary work to prepare the ground for this second urgent primary care centre in Surrey, as well as getting into the planning stages, the business planning stages for the second hospital.